Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much. Oh, hey, hello everybody. Welcome to Red Pill Nation Hangout number 407. We got the Three Musketeers on tonight, actually. Three regulars. Myself, of course, Naroki5, Rearson, and of course V is back after dealing with a whole bunch of stuff everywhere. Before we get started tonight, I totally forgot to announce our new commercial sponsor on the show, on the politics show on 406, but I will announce it now. New from Red Pill Products, the Orange Man Bad Sperg generator. That's right. It is a generator that is fueled entirely from the emotional Sperg out of all the leftists that can't get over the fact that Trump won in 2024. Like they never got over 2016. They will definitely never get over 2024. What do you do? Well, first you buy the Sperg generator. You also buy yourself a safe supply of MAGA hats, or you print up multiple pictures of Donald Trump or whatever. And then what you do is you find a crazed leftist, or 10 or 15. You trank them. You throw them into this giant Sperg generator, and then what you do is every once in a while you throw in a MAGA hat or a picture of Donald Trump or whatever, and the energy gained from the Sperging out of these individuals is probably enough to keep you and your entire neighborhood lit for hours on end. That's right. The Orange Man Bad Sperg generator runs entirely on the bad feelings and the insanity of the leftist crowd, of the Orange Man Bad crowd. Now, back to our regular show. So with me tonight, of course, is Rearson, who was actually the inventor of the Orange Man Bad Sperg generator. He's hoping to see maybe a little bit of money coming out of this. So Rearson, introduce yourself.
You got the name wrong. It's just Sperginator. Just because
Sperginator.
The Sperginator. Oh my God! And the scale is that up, and if you get enough to fill up a stadium, you'll be able to power the country for about a month by calculations. Fuck.
That's right.
And the backup power is the collected liberal tears.
Oh, that's right. It's fueled by two things: Orange Man Bad Handball and liberal tears. That's right. Thank you very much for adding that information in. Also tonight with us is from back in the old good old he's in commie for. Sorry, maybe shouldn't be saying that. He's in an undisclosed location in the United States. V, introduce yourself. If you can unmute yourself first.
Well, I'm debating whether I can even do the show. I've been for the past few minutes, I've been battling out with NSA agents come to mess with me. It's about a 2-inch cockroach that just can't seem to kill me. No matter how many times I hit it. Oh my God, I've seen things on my travels. But, yeah, my God. Trump save us. Trump save us all.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I am at Patreon as Naroki5. I'm actually gonna have to start posting my stuff back up there because I've neglected Patreon for like over a year now. I am currently also in order of total number of followers, BitChute, still MGTOW TV in second. Rumble is very rapidly catching up to MGTOW TV. Odyssey, Brighteon, and of course YouTube, which actually somehow I'm now up to over 30 subs on YouTube, which I have no idea how I'm getting because I'm doing absolutely nothing to promote YouTube in any form or fashion. I am also at Facebook, Minds, Gab, MeWe, Getter, TLB Talks, and that is pretty much it for now. Also, don't forget, of course, Tinfoil Hats Are Us. That's right. If you're worried about all of those pesky alien abductions, worried about getting probed in the wrong place while wearing a gimp suit, although I personally suspect that Gerson sort of enjoys that sort of thing. Tinfoil Hats Are Us will Tinfoil Hats Are Us will prevent that. They come in all styles, shapes, colors. We even got them for the family pets. That's right. All you got to do is type in the secret code, which is "They're not gonna get me" in capital letters to get 10% off your first order. That's right. Tinfoil Hats Are Us. Tinfoil Hats. And last but not least tonight, the Joe Biden, in commemoration of the recent election, the Joe Biden Memory Rock. If you can't remember anything, you invoke the spirit of Joe Biden in this rock that basically has nothing but written on it but memory. You proceed to hit yourself in the head with that rock until, of course, you actually remember, or you pass out, in which case the problem is solved. That's right. In memory, in memoriam for the current election, the Joe Biden Memory Rock. And with that, we will get into the topics. So, topic number 1, need I say it? Donald Trump wins the 2024 election. Sperging out commences. The top topics for this show are Your Body, My Choice, Idiocy, that one. Oh my God.
All right.
All right. The scare tactics of the Astroturf Project, because Project 2025 has been coming up quite frequently. And of course, all of the celebrity freakouts in Hollywood. Christina Applegate definitely takes the takes the prize there. Topic number 2. Manosphere is suddenly not just a fringe phenomenon anymore. Is this blamed for the Harris loss? Sex strike commences by feminists. I'll try not to laugh. Topic number 3.
Oh, sorry. Premature laughing happening.
Topic number 3. Mitch McConnell caught trying to sneak Senate Speaker vote past people. Oh, that one was really interesting. Topic number 4. Woke streamers, as in woke liberal streamers, losing thousands of subs after all the lies they told them. Specifically, David Pakman. Okay, topic number 5. Yet another attempt to assassinate Trump. Stop. This one supposedly done by Iranians again. That one's definitely worth some speculation. And topic number 6, and yes, we're still into politics here. Danielle Smith easily survives internal coup against her in the CP at the Conservative Party Alberta Convention. Oh yeah, she breezed through that. Like it wasn't even close. And topic number 7, just because I don't want to have it all be politics. The Debacle, that was the video game Dragon Age. Wow. Okay. So, topic number 1. Well, we've covered this a couple of different ways already. We were both on a live stream on election night being done by Roger Hansen. We were on and off on that one. It was fairly obvious from the in hindsight, it was fairly obvious, probably even from early September, that Trump probably had this election in the bag. The number of liberal and left-leaning podcasters, YouTubers, Twitterites, whatever you want to call them, that that thought that that said that Paris was going to win, as if actually saying it was going to somehow make it so, was just absolutely astounding. And we will actually be covering that in topic number 4. Now, here's some of the things that happen. And one of the big ones was the way feminists acted on this. Now, there is a pair, I don't know, because I don't listen to the guy. I don't really particularly like his style much. But there was a guy, there's a streamer called Nicholas Fuentes. And he said something. Don't know what the context was, don't know what it said, don't know what it meant. But basically what it meant, what he said was, your body, my choice. And it was like, okay, I don't know enough about Nick Fuentes to comment on that. What I do know is that Nick Fuentes does not dictate policy in Washington, D.C. However, if you went over to Threads, Twitter, Facebook, wherever feminists congregate in large numbers, they were quoting this statement like it somehow came out of Trump's mouth, when it actually didn't come out of Trump's mouth. It came out of Nick Fuentes' mouth. And again, Nick Fuentes is, again, I don't have really much of an opinion on the guy because I haven't listened to him very much. But I mean, this, from what little I do know about him, this sounds like something that he would do. He actually, at one point, like, they called him, he says inflammatory things just like Alex Jones does. Don't know whether he actually does it for entertainment or whether he actually does it, whether he believes it or not. He does appear to be a little bit more politically active than Alex Jones is. And of course, he's not a complete clone of Alex Jones. I don't know what Nick Fuentes' opinion is on various conspiracy theories or whatever, and I really don't care. But I mean, this quote by him had been making the rounds in feminist circles everywhere. The next issue that came up, and this one blew my mind. You had women cutting their hair. I saw a video on Facebook where this one, and I am not kidding you. This woman actually, and I think I said this to Rearson was listening to this when I said this on the last show. There was a black woman eating fried chicken in a restaurant, and like her post was, I'm getting my last dose of fried chicken in before they make it illegal for black women to go into restaurants. No, I am not making that up. There was also another situation where a woman was saying, well, I'm going on a nice, long, relaxing drive before Trump takes away my ability to drive. Like, I mean, Trump had 4 years between 2016 and 2020 to do something like that, and he didn't. They were talking about Project 2025, like it was actually going to happen. Donald Trump has said multiple times that he has nothing to do with Project 2025. But when you argue with this crowd, they will insist that Project 2025 was actually real, and they will start screaming and yelling at you if you tell them that they bought into an AstroTurf campaign. I'm surprised. Like, I've actually seen celebrities like double down on Project 25. The most prominent one that I can think of in the Hollywood community that doubled down, and I know Rearson remembers this one, the super hot blonde Borg from Voyager, Jerry Ryan. She was posting up about Project 25 like constantly. Which gets me into into C. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently, well, I mean, let's face facts. The View, you can count on I mean, although the Young Turks has kind of smartened up a little bit, there were two programs that you could count on to come up with like stunned, stupid left-wing reviews of anything that went on, and that was the Young Turks and the View. Literally on the View, the highlight was that they were actually physically talking about the government action. What can I say? Attempting to censor social media. Like they passed that off. They were saying, well, that's like a good thing. One of the things that's definitely come up, because I've noticed this has been kind of like a secondary tactic that's come up. And again, like if you go to Threads, you'll see a lot of this left-wing stuff. Is that, and I said this on 406, that this election was an absolute repudiation of the mainstream media, because the mainstream media went all in on Harris. They went all in on Harris, despite the fact that her track record in the past indicated that she was not going to be a winner. And she wasn't. And they went out and they tried. And it was not just it wasn't just MSNBC and CNN. It was ABC, NBC, CBS, Time, like you name it. Like any mainstream corporate publication basically went all in on Harris, despite her track record. And, you know, having seen part of The View, seeing Jimmy Kimmel cry on the Tonight Show when he was doing his opening monologue, that one just like Kimmel is in no position to be pointing fingers at anybody. But the Barbara Streisand like freaking out on X/Twitter and then getting such a serious blowback that she leaves. But the absolute winner of them all was Christina Applegate, formerly of Married with Children, and she's done a few other things as well. She spurged out so bad that she was like literally threatening and insulting anybody who disagreed with her, and she got such serious. Again, she also got such serious blowback on X that she canceled her account. Now, there's been some very curious other people in Hollywood that have actually, like, there's one, like Justine Bateman, who is Jason Bateman's older sister. She's got some roles. And Justine Bateman went on, and it was like...
sorry to interrupt. Family Ties was the one I remember her the most from.
Yeah, she was hot as F. She was hot as fuck back in Family Ties. Definitely very bangable. That's all I'm going to say. Famous probably because the movie, it didn't do well, but it was famous because it had Julia Roberts in it before Julia Roberts became Julia Roberts. But yeah, she came on. She went on. She did a. I think it was not a TikTok, but I think it was an Instagram post or on Twitter or something. I can't remember specifically, but she's like on there and she's like going like, listen, you know what? Like, I live in the Hollywood, and like the amount of people freaking out here because Trump won is just like, it's disturbing. You know, like Trump's not really, like, I don't believe that he's the boogeyman that a lot of people here in Hollywood are making him out to be. I think a lot of people need to step back and just take a breath. And oh yeah, she got absolutely screamed at. And a couple people said they were going to report her to her brother, like Jason Bateman's actually going to do anything to his sister over her political opinion. So Jason Bateman's pretty apolitical. Um, but yeah, there was just like, wow. Here's the really weird part about it, though. One of the biggest Trump Orange Man bad. In fact, I almost considered making an Orange Man bad special on him. Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner, although at the start of the day, on start of election day on Tuesday, he was saying, "Oh yeah, no, Harris has got it in the bag." Rob Reiner, at least as far as I know, up till now, has not said a single solitary thing about the election. Like, he's just gone radio silent. And one of the things same thing with Mark Hamill, right? Like, both of those guys have just literally gone radio silent over this. But Hollywood is just, I mean, we're only seeing the very tip of the iceberg. What Justine Bateman was talking about kind of indicates there's a lot more going on underneath the surface. It's also becoming very, very clear that, like the lesson, I think a lot of this has to do with the fact, too, that this crowd believed, because of the previous election in 2020, that they were the majority, that they had the will of the general population of the United States behind them to support stuff like groomers in elementary school and men and women's sports and DEI and all of those and all of those others. Oh God, I could go on for a while. They believed that they actually had popular and majority support for all of those things. And it turns out not only do they not have popular support, but they actually got bitch slapped. And again, I've seen stuff on social media where you've had people attempting to minimize what happened, which obviously didn't work. You've also had, and this was the one that really left me disturbed, and I was actually going to put it into two, but I realized it actually applies to one. I saw a couple of I saw a couple of male feminists today. I saw one that literally posted up on Threads that if you go after the women in my family, I'm not going to be responsible for what happens to you. And he was talking to MAGA people. And yeah, he was getting called out for it. Another thing that I saw happen, and this is going to apply to two, and I'm just going to bring this up here just as a short little note. I saw a lot of the man bun, good men project style, feminized men on Threads today, lecturing other men about masculinity and routinely taking shots at people like Tate, who didn't vote, Tim Pool, who is not in the manosphere, who's not really involved in the manosphere, Jordan Peterson, who's not involved in the manosphere, Joe Rogan, who's not involved in the manosphere, Elon Musk, who's also not involved in the manosphere. But there was like multiple people taking shots at those people. And it was like, I will get more into that when I get into topic 2. But yeah, that was just mind blowing. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
See, you do this all the time. You get a topic and then you stack 20 subtopics underneath. I don't know where to start. I mean, everything you said. I mean, I don't get Well, I'll just say I knew there was going to be an issue with. I predicted this on the show. We did a show a while ago, several months ago. I said that the reason why they put Kamala Harris, why the Democrats, why Joe Biden stepped away, because there's no way he's going to win. Why they put Kamala Harris against Trump was just so that it's just another one of his sins. Oh, he beat a black woman. Now, take that out of context, and he doesn't sound like a good person, right? So it's just one of those things to make him look bad. And I said it months and months ago, it's going to look dirty. That there will be a reaction. I predicted it, right? There's a reaction, right? So these people are dirty. When you understand the psychology of government, you also know the psychology of greed and pettiness. And it's the lowest denominator of any thinking mind, and it's this is what we're left with. It's what we have. That lady was talking about her last fried chicken. I mean, come on. That's just not only is it a dramatic exaggeration of something that just isn't an issue, it's just flat out insane. I don't know. It's just I'm kind of ashamed that people are still this stupid in the world. If you want to talk policies, whether Trump's decision to try to keep Arabs out of the country on a no-fly list, or him trying to build a wall. If you want to talk those topics and criticize them, fine. But to say that you're going to go to a restaurant and eat some fried chicken because it might be your last day as a free person or whatever, that's utter nonsense. And it creates that divide, the conservatives and these liberals. It creates a divide culturally because none of this is based in reality. What these people, these overreactions, these libtards have, it's simply like children having temper tantrums because they didn't get what they want. And it's sickening. How are we supposed to grow together? How are we supposed to move on together as a nation when we have so many, I never thought I'd ever say this, but politically immature people in the world, in the country? That's political immaturity. And the fact that the media highlights this sort of stuff, it's just, we're mired. We're not going to have any progress. We're not going to have any progress as a nation. Oh, Trump won because he's a white male. Okay, whatever. Okay, I mean, I want them to go. These people that are complaining about this, I want them to go complain about their white governor, about their white senator, about their white representative, about their white mayor, about their white police chief, and so forth, all down the line. What then? People need to take. There's no personal responsibility anymore. There's so many people that complain, but they have no role in society. I mean, it's supposed to be with people. We're supposed to be keeping control of our government, right? And just overall participating. But people just want to wait around and just complain. I I mean, now I know there's the extreme side of things where you've got people trying to assassinate Trump. That's a little extreme. I'll say that. But kudos for becoming politically involved. uh, you know, but it's. I just astounded to hear that my prediction came true. Not because I thought I was wrong, but I was astounded because of how accurate I was. But anyways, I don't know. These show topics tonight are I don't know, they have me a little bit off track. So I'm going to do a lot of listening tonight. I'll just chime in when I can. So with that, please go ahead, Harrison.
Well, I mean, effectively, we had 4 years of a pause to wait and see as to how they're going to lose their shit. And they're doing it in glorious style. Again, I wasn't really all that worried that Trump was not going to win. I've been holding the faith of a couple of rumblers, one who apparently is well enough connected to what's going on. Can't verify it, so take that. I take it with a grain of salt. But between him and others, like I said, I was not too worried. I did have some anxiety on Tuesday. And I will say that I'm quite pleased for the crazies to reveal themselves in the manner that they're doing. I mean, we're going to get to the one topic I'm really looking forward to today, but not yet. But I mean, if it isn't, if they're not screeching harpies, they're just going to read themselves to death. So, I mean, talking about Rob Reiner, I mean, the guy does, and Hamill's no different. And I can't believe I'm going to be saying this, but this is how I'm feeling now. I will never be able to watch Star Wars again because of Hamill. I just can't. Like, the idea is repulsive. I mean, when I play Master of Orion and Hamill plays the leader of one of the alien races, I terminate them with extreme prejudice because it's like, fucking Mark Hamill, god damn it. The only way I can kill him is this is the only way I can kill him off. So, but that's fine. I'm actually quite pleased that he's shot himself in the foot as much as he has. And just on a personal side note, I'm just wondering if this might also be the level of apathy that's going through the fan base of Star Wars fans, is that they're sick of actors like Hamill. Don't want to see him anymore because of everything, because of his insanity. But anyway, that's fine. It was interesting to see the results of California's voting with the Electoral College, and about 45% of the state voted red. So I think that's something that's in the works of that to be showing the cracks. But right now, we'll wait and see. I mean, he can't do anything except start to make phone calls as he has. And Canada's favorite feminist, with a 20% approval rating, was asked about the election night, and good old turd Justine, speaking of another Justine, had said, "Yeah, I called Donald." Really? You're on a first name basis? with the way that Trudeau has backstabbed Trump in the back after one of the, I guess it'd be like an APEC or G20, I think it was a G20 that was in Singapore meeting. And would be expected that Air Force One is going to have state-of-the-art communications with everything, internet included. But I'm pretty sure that Canada's equivalent of US, of I guess Canada One, whatever the fuck, or whatever his jump jet would be called, doesn't have internet. So he probably made the assumption that, well, I'll worry about this later. You know, and as I said, that's when he backstabbed Trump in a really bad way. So for me, that was just one of those, you dumbass. But anyway. Now, what is Inauguration Day anyway? Let's take a look at that. Okay, January 20th. All right, so there's a lot of time between now and January 20th for shit to go wrong or sideways. I mean, we could be looking at the expectation is that if the economy is going to collapse, it's going to collapse. I expect just before it could be what's left of this month, could be December. It could be up to going to the middle of January. Who knows? And I fully expect that there will be more assassination attempts between now and until his last days in office. We'll see. But right now, this is all, we're in the beginning stages of everything. There's a lot to clean up, and it's going to get crazy. It's going to be more insane before it gets better. So we'll wait and see. So don't have much more to say on this one, except yay! Glad to know that I was behind the right person. 12 years ago. 8 years ago. 2016. Yeah, Jesus, it's been 8 years. Well, I'll say about 9 years ago. But, we'll leave it at that. Anyway,
before the podcast started. Yeah. All right. So, oh my God. Yeah, this next one. I literally, as I was looking for content to do for the slideshow for the video, I was on Facebook, and it was like literally, it's like, and they're trying to make, they were trying to act like the Democratic Socialists. Okay, if you don't remember who the Democratic Socialists were, in the 2016 election, the Democrat Socialists had their convention in San Francisco. There was a individual in the crowd who, like, literally, if you ever go to Macroaggressions and listen to the interview, you'll hear this. This is part of the thing. And he was like, some people, when they talk, could they please stay away from gendered language? And that's like literally how he said it, right? And of course, he was getting, like, even these were Democrat socialists, and they were like, even in this convention, like, people were like booing and calling this guy names, right? And there was another person who did the same thing. So, I mean, the Democrat Socialists were like saying, well, the same people who are getting mad over your body might choose are the same people who were mad about choosing the bear. And it's like, well, no, we're not mad, right? They're just absolutely aghast that, because this is the second massively stupid thing that they have done in the last year, feminists. Like, choosing the bear was one thing, but, this whole, again, your body, my choice, idiocy was taken out of context with Nick Fuentes. And then, like, Nick Fuentes does not fucking dictate policy. Like, he just doesn't. Sorry, ladies, he doesn't. The other projection on this, though, is feminists have decided, and I mean, because I'm going over Twitter, I'm going Instagram and Facebook and whatever, and like this thing has actually got some serious traction. This isn't like the Alyssa Milano sex strike, which we covered a few years ago. Like, this one actually seems to have some legs to it. The only problem is that unlike when Alyssa Milano, I'm trying to remember when exactly Alyssa Milano did that sex strike, whatever. I believe it was 2018 or something like that, 2019. And at the time when she announced this, I took a MGTOW symbol, post on her feed, posted it up, and I basically did nothing but go LOL all the way to the end, right? And that was what it. And I actually got some thumbs up for that. This time they're doing it, and they're doing it because of Your Body, My Choice, which is, again, I mean, I've only got two conclusions about this. The three, actually. One, there are a whole truckload, like there are more stupid women out there than I really had suspected. That's one. Two, somebody in power has decided that they actually want, and you can't dismiss this out of hand, but somebody in power has basically directed social media to play this up, and they are. So somebody actually wants this to happen, which gets me to the third one, which is that this is actually part of the conspiracy to undermine the family, whatever, by intentionally riling women up to the point where guys just don't want to have anything to do with them. And because I mean, like I say, I saw on Twitter, on Threads today, I saw a guy suggesting openly that he was going to get violent with guys in the Manosphere if over what happened. And I saw a number of other people also taking, again, like trying to extend Nick Fuentes. First of all, Nick Fuentes is not part of the Manosphere. He never has been part of the Manosphere. In fact, him and Rolo actually got somewhat confrontational on Pearly Things podcast at one point, although, again, wasn't impressed with the way Pearl snuck Nick Fuentes on at the same time as Rolo Tomasi. The whole thing on this was, yeah, it's a sex strike, and it's like you're seeing women on TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and whatever posting up these videos about how they would like to hurt white men for voting the way they did. Just before I started here, I actually saw, I'm not lying about this. There's this woman who actually gloated about cutting off a white guy in a supermarket line. She had no idea how this white guy voted, but she was actually proud of the fact that she was being an asshole to a white guy. And I'm like, wow. Like, like, speaking strictly, and I can't speak for the entire Manosphere because the Manosphere is a disparate series of groups and philosophies and goals and objectives that each man has to make a decision for himself on. Now, me as a MGTOW and me taking a look at the big picture of what's going on, first thing I did was I said, well, you know what? I'm going to get myself some wings. I'm going to get myself something to drink. I'm going to pull up a lawn chair and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy this so-called sex strike. And I'm going to be laughing all the fucking way through. Because me, as a MGTOW, I don't give a shit if some woman is or isn't going to sleep with me, because I don't have to concern myself with it, because it's redundant. It's no longer, I no longer base my value system or my identity on having a girlfriend or having a hot girlfriend or whatever. It's no longer part of my value system. Like, I have transcended that. I have gone through the red pill rage. I have gone through post red pill rage, and I have transcended that. It is no longer relevant in my life. Now, not every guy who's gone MGTOW is at that same point. But, I mean, what I can tell you from what I'm seeing through the other major factions of the Manosphere is, first of all, the PUAs are laughing their asses off, because, I mean, and the word from the PUAs is that, you know, like, they're not first of all, they're not going to get universal support for this, and second of all, right, if they had the discipline to keep their legs closed in the first place, this wouldn't have even happened. And like, it's especially if you've reached a level of mastery in PUA. I mean, it's not going to matter what if a woman's on a sex strike, because it's sort of like, yeah, women are, to a really good PUA, women are a dime a fucking dozen. Like, they can just get another one like that. Like, it's not going to, no matter how much they try, they are never going to get universal. Just like how with the Manosphere is not going to get universal approval, they're never going to get every single woman to jump on board. And the PUAs are going to find them. So the PUAs are laughing. The incels, and by the way, MGTOW is not incel, and PUA is not incel. The incels, and I think both of you guys will, anybody who's listening to this will find this fucking ironic. So they're going on a sex strike, and they're denying sex to men over an election. So incels are not getting laid in the first place. So what's going on is that they're denying sex to a group that's not getting sex in the first place. God fucking damn, man. Like, and here's the thing. They are literally so fucking stupid. They cannot even see a lot of these women cannot. And even I've explained it to them too. Even though I'm not an incel. It's sort of like, so you're denying sex to somebody who's not even getting sex in the first place. Like, do you not see the redundancy in that? And they started arguing. And it's like, and of course, it's all based on emotion. I have posted up, and actually I've done so rather proudly too. I have posted up, I am MGTOW. I don't give a shit about this strike. I am going to fucking laugh at these women all the way there. And I had this one woman like viciously attack me for it. And I'm like, what, you think this is some kind of an own? Like, do you really seriously think, to anybody in the Manosphere, like, do you really legitimately think that a sex strike is going to affect anybody who's dedicated themselves to a faction of the Manosphere, be it PUA, MRA, or MGTOW? Like, do you think you're going to have any? Because, I mean, the MRAs are like, yeah, whatever, right? Like, they don't care either. And it's not the I don't care. It's not like, with the MRAs, it's not like the I don't care that comes from the MGTOWs. The MRAs are like, yeah, fuck feminists, right? They just they'll say one thing and like literally the next thing they do will contradict. This is like literally what they're doing, right? And again, like I said, twice in 1 year, I have seen feminists engage in just like massively stupid ideas. Like, again, speaking from a personal tone, do you think I even remotely give a shit if some woman isn't going to sleep with me because I probably would have voted Trump and not Harris? Like, is that going? I'm talking to the other guys out there that are listening to this. Like, is some unhinged, crazy, illogical woman who's a feminist who likely hates you for being a guy, does her opinion and her not sleeping with you in any way impact your life on a day-to-day basis? The answer is probably no, especially if you're in the manosphere. So, yeah. And I would point this out to them. The entire fucking manosphere is just laughing our asses off at you. Because, I mean, it's like, you know, all they're doing with this is bringing more attention to the manosphere, and they're not actually swaying the opinion of anybody that's actually in the manosphere. Now, the other thing that has come up around this is you have got what I call the blue pill manosphere, or what I call the feminized manosphere. And if you go, actually, I've seen this a lot on social media, but I'm starting to think that they're actually deliberately promoting this content. I'm seeing the man bun feminized men coming on, and they're all taking all of these shots at the manosphere. And it's like, they're like, for instance, this is one guy who was like, Nick Fuentes and Tim Pool and Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate, and those guys are not examples of masculinity. A real man does. And I mean, I probably had to point out to him is like literally every single fucking guy you mentioned, except for Andrew Tate, is not involved in the manosphere. I'm also going to point out to you that having listened to a fair amount of Jordan Peterson's work, Jordan Peterson is not a fucking He-Man. Neither is Tim Pool, for that matter. Nick Fuentes actually dislikes the manosphere, and even Andrew Tate, who is involved in the manosphere, was never the biggest name in the manosphere. That honor currently belongs to Fresh It. Actually, no, belongs to the Whatever podcast. You know, like, you might be able to make an argument for Andrew Tate being in the top 5, but I mean, he's inside. Like, this is something that I had to point out to a number of people about Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is the most recognized name in the manosphere, but he's not the biggest content producer in the manosphere. And just, I mean, like, all of these man bun people are like, well, we need to rise up and we need to defend women. And like, some of the other responses I'm seeing is like, I saw one very classical response. It's sort of like, from one guy, it's like, well, why the hell should we be bothered? They have openly said they don't need us. So you know what? Like, I'm not gonna lift a finger. Fuck off. And I mean, that one dude who mentioned all of those people, I actually had to like take a piece out of it. And my last response to him was like, dude, do you even have an inkling what the most important issue is in the manosphere right now? Like, do you know what that issue is? Because it ain't picking up women. It ain't false accusations. It ain't insecurity because a powerful woman is making him feel insecure, which is basically just a bunch of feminist bullshit. The biggest single issue in the manosphere overall is corrupt divorce and child custody issues. I didn't tell him that, but I asked him the question, like, you're making all these statements about the manosphere, but do you even fucking know what the manosphere is? Like, seriously, I'm talking to the non-involved people who don't know that much about the manosphere on this show. Like, if you're hearing me talk about the manosphere, I have a legit question for anybody who's listening who's gotten in this far. Like, do you even know what the manosphere is? Do you know what it entails? Do you know the issues? Do you know the various factions involved? Do you know who's involved in it, who's not involved in it? Because, I mean, once again, right, you know, they're coming at this, and they're coming at this in completely the wrong way. And it's like, it's actually boring for me to have to step out into the open and put some metaphorical heads on spikes from people who make a lot of noise, but have no fucking clue what they're talking about and will continue to argue with me from a point of view of complete fucking ignorance about something that they this has happened more times than I even care to count. And it's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's that easy. Like, I'm finding it very. I mean, I have a mixed view of this. You know, like the gynocentric order has posted up in most locations when you go to do research on any faction in the manosphere, they're getting incorrect information on it. But when you correct them on it and you tell them, no, that's not what the manosphere is, this is the manosphere over here, they will argue you to death from a state of fucking ignorance, from the information that they're getting at places like Wikipedia, for instance. And the last thing I'm going to say before I turn it over to V on this one is that feminists have really shot themselves in the foot this time, right? Like, I mean, regardless of what happens, the manosphere is going to become culturally relevant, and the current new president, Donald Trump, is going to have to do something about the manosphere before his tenure ends. It will happen faster if feminists keep making stupid mistakes like this. And here's the irony about blaming the manosphere about this. They've put themselves in a very nasty position, because now, after years of saying, oh, well, guys in the manosphere or just a bunch of losers living in their basements with no cultural influence. Well, if we have no cultural influence, if we are just a bunch of basement dwelling losers, then how do we affect the election? How do we affect the election then? We're just a bunch of losers in our parents' basement, socially awkward. How do we fucking influence the election? Do you got an answer for that? Or they have to say that we did, but if they say that we did, then they have to admit that the manosphere is culturally significant and that it needs to be acknowledged, and men's issues need to be acknowledged. So, yeah, that's what I'm liking about this particular sex strike and about blaming the manosphere, is that, I mean, they've really, like, I mean, I've seen feminists, like, in fact, I was dealing with one yesterday who was doing this exact thing. They will say one thing, and then the next thing that comes out of their mouth contradicts this thing that they were just saying, and they will keep acting as though it doesn't. But I mean, they've really put themselves in a nasty spot this time, because no matter which way this goes for them, no matter what they do about this sex strike, the manosphere wins, and wins big. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, being a PUA, okay, or at least former, I don't. This sounds bad, but I don't take what women say to be anything they say to be important. It's not a sexist thing. In general, I kind of have to know you in order to care about your opinion in regards to sex, religion, race, whatever. And I think people should have that sort of approach to these things. So maybe people get butthurt about this, get butthurt about that. Just, you know. For simple fact that you can get an individual who says, I'm going to punish this other person whom I don't know because of the way the world is, again, it's just political immaturity, and there are issues. There are issues that have to be dealt with. You know, I don't see how these women can have their heads in the sand. You know, the two important issues, just like you said, the divorce and the CPS, the family court system. These are things that really rail it to men, and unjustly, unfairly, because the greedy government gets their cut out of it. I've heard, but there, I will back up. I have heard women around here, in the area I'm in, some friends of mine, I've heard them go off on the family courts here. Like, they're terrible, they're corrupt. These men are working hard, and the courts take 40% of the checks. It's like the government didn't work for that money. Why are they taking 40%? The government didn't give birth to that child. It's like, what the hell is going on here? The government's using social issues, turn them political, and turn them into gold mines. Any way that they can victimize and rape the public, and they do it. It's so cowardly to me. It's so diabolical, because they'll do all that, step back, and then watch the two other individuals fight about it, while they sit back and count their money. I think most of our issues are not, again, gender. I think it's government. We allow the government to do these things, to take half our paychecks to get to some woman. We allow the government to throw us in jail if we don't pay us child support checks. We allow, it's like, and I'm so glad men are not getting married anymore, because what guys do not understand, what most people do not understand, is when you go get married, if anybody knows about Black's Law and these the terminologies that are used to describe the conditions of a contract, you would understand that marriage license is not a contract between the man and the woman. That marriage license is a contract between the man and the government, and the woman and the government. So whenever you start having issues with your quote-unquote wife, or partner, whoever, the government can step in and say, hey, yeah, this is how it's going to go down, and yeah, pay me my money. Gangsters, extortion on relationships. It's the ways that we're being squeezed for this money, that money. You can't turn around without the government's handout for freaking money. We've got to change these things, our society. There are some women on board and they see the evil in this sort of stuff. So you've got these toxic women. However, culture, media, they're pumping out the garbage to create more garbage females to keep them rich. Materialism, the lack of morality, selfishness, solipsism. They keep pumping out these toxic females who who get pregnant just to get a check from the government. Okay, they'll have many kids. They have they'll have 8 different baby daddies just to keep that money pumping in. And it's disgusting. I mean, you guys we all know this. I'm ranting here, but Yeah. I'll pass it on to Rearson.
If there's one thing that I've learned, and I will have to incorporate this into my life going forward, is that the moment that any woman that I'm going to be with, whoever that will be, whenever that will be, holds out on sex, I fucking negotiating. I'm not going to negotiate. Rollo, in his wisdom, putting into words, is that when you negotiate for intimacy, you have, in essence, fully devalued yourself in her eyes. She might still love you, but somewhere there's going to be a growing little list of things that you've done, and that would show her that you're not a man. No, I'm not going to advocate for anyone to basically take your woman, wife, girlfriend, fiance, whatever. If she says no, I would say, well, you know what? You're not going to give me what I want, so yeah, I'll probably be back in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. See you later. Bye. And just go find a woman who's part of the oldest profession on the planet. I mean, that's pretty much what this whole game is between the sexes anyway. Men want pussy, women want resources. So they exchange for the other. Then let's not kid ourselves, folks. Let's not. Now, this also, I feel, calls into question, I won't say the argument, but the buzz phrase, well, I am the table. Well, you know what? With you being the table and you're acting like this, guess what? Your table has only 3 fucking legs. And you as sure as hell ain't fucking stable. So, and especially with the feminists being what they are not, they don't contribute to society. They don't help perpetuate they're a liability. That's about the only way that I could say that they're an absolute liability. They just think that their shit doesn't stink. And doubly so if she happens to be a lesbian feminist. And to all the guys that are feminists thinking that they're going to try to get a piece of ass with all of this because you're falling in line and doing what they say, good fucking luck. Good fucking luck believing that. Well, no, you can believe it. Whether or not you're going to get results are going to be, it's a whole different matter. And if this sex strike continues for a while, well, it kind of sucks to be running an abortion clinic now, don't it? Because the women that are not going to be putting out for any of this, at least not for the regular guys, or even with the Chads and Tyrones and whoever else, business might be slowing down for a month or 2 or maybe 6 months. Who knows? I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if there were ads from abortion clinics. Hey, bitches, be sluts again. I need your money. So this whole thing with the sex strike, in my opinion, really only adds to the argument that perhaps women shouldn't vote. If this is what they're going to be like, and they're losing their fucking mind, because there was a woman that was, she's now the 3rd female candidate. No, she didn't get very far. Who? Geraldine, I can't fucking remember her name. I think maybe Hillary was the first the first woman to run for actual president, but
Yeah, Hillary was the first one to run for president. Geraldine Ferraro was Walter Mondale's running mate in 1984.
okay, that's what it was. Well, hey, I mean, I still remember something about all of that way back then. So, and Mondale was Democrat, I believe. Anyway, thank you for clearing it up. And that name was in the back of my head, but I wasn't sure if it was her or not. So, the fact that there were so many female voters voting for Kamala because she knows how to suck cock, she knows how to get it by giving head, a lot of it. Like, how is this really any different than? And there's this opinion of one of the women I used to work with who had to say about Trump being a cheater. It's like, well, you know what though? When you're worth that much, I'm sorry, but at that high level of society, I can pretty much guarantee you they're all fucking around. All of them. They know it. It's convenient. I'm pretty sure it's one of those unwritten rules of upper end society. And as I'm going to quote again Levi next by saying, if he's good enough for you, he's good enough for a few. So, okay, how many times do you remember seeing, when we lived in Banff, the herds of elk, or the herd of elk, below the bridge?
Oh, every fall.
And what did you see in that herd of elk?
I saw one. Well, there were two of them. There was one on one side of the river and one on the other. Tango was the one, I believe, on the Banff Springs side, and Rambo was the one on the residential side of the river.
So we're talking about
there were like two or three of them. I don't know what the name of the third one was, but there was basically one male, and it was like, in the fall. And you remember that they would be like, you could hear them all night just braying away, and they would attack anybody who was stupid enough to get too close to the females. Anybody.
Yeah. So basically, folks, what I'm getting at here is that you had the one male and you had the herd of females. Biology basically doesn't change all that much, whether you've got 4 legs or you've got 2. But then again, there are enough within the feline world, within the actual pussy world, with the females in heat, there are enough males that are trying to get their shot at it. So she's just getting banged away, but that's a little more extreme. But what I'm getting at though is that high value men have options. They will, if they're gonna be happy with one female, sure, but it'd be one of those unwritten rules. I will love you, dear, but I want to fuck around, and I'm gonna go fuck around. And again, that has been said between my spouse and I that if I'm worth a lot more, my wealth is worth. I have a lot more wealth to my name. I can go screw around because sex ain't happening here. But that would be something that would be incredibly convenient for my former Toastmasters colleague. So really all that this is doing is just showing to the world how irrational females can be. And again, why I don't think that females should vote, because if I was eligible to vote in the US, I would have voted for Trump. Not just because I have to agree with nihilists from way back when about the God Emperor, but why would I want him for 4 years, and hopefully to establish a legacy afterwards? Lower taxes. Lower taxes means lower inflation, which means life gets easier and there's more in your pocket. You can actually have more of the life that you want, rather than to be, in one form or another, a modern slave. either a wage slave, divorced wage slave. You're tied to your house and your, the corporates. You get what I'm saying. Slavery has changed. It's still around, folks. It's just not the one walking around with people in chains around the neck or the waist or the legs. All done on purpose, I must add, as well.
Amen, brother.
I might indeed actually have someone from my Dutch side of my mom's side of the family who may have been involved in the slave trade. No idea. And even if I do have a relative that went back that far, that was then. I am not that person. That is not me. And as is floating around right now on social media, on Facebook, slavery happened in Africa. It's happened in the Middle East. It's happened in Asia. It's happened within the Native American tribes. It's happened in Europe. Like, it has been everywhere at some point in time. So this is gonna be my last time I'm gonna be enjoying fried chicken. Well then, bitch, you just make sure you get as much suck down all that white and brown meat as much as you can, bitch, because, well, maybe humanity will gain. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Maybe the US of A will get its thin IQ pool might actually deepen a little bit because she's choked on a piece of meat, kind of like Mama Cass. No standards, folks. No fucking standards. I don't get what the whole thing is all about. Everything to do with Kamala, and this will tie into this whole sex strike, and the when the women are fucking freaking out. Like, the machinations of the Democrat Party are just incredible. The only woman I would have considered to vote for, if I could, had she not got shafted, would have been Tulsi Gabbard. She questioned a lot of things that were going on with the Democrat Party. She got shown the door. But these are things that my coworker former colleague of Toastmasters, probably has no fucking clue about. Doesn't look into it. She's more concerned about putting her shit up on social media. Typical female fucking things that, again, social media to women is porn for men. Both are incredibly counterproductive, and it produces that hit of dopamine that our brains are wired for differently. When Bernie was running against Harris, and I remember the term superdelegate back in the 2012 election process. And there were delegates for the Democrats, and then they also have super delegates. One super delegate, I think, is worth anywhere between 10 to 20 regular delegates. And all Hillary had to do, and that's what she did, was to get as many super delegates as possible. What method she would have used, I don't know. I can only imagine. If not her camp was doing everything they needed to do. So you have, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the politicians here in Canada that we elect up to this point have been selected to be elected. And I don't see the Democrat Party being any different. Don't get me wrong, at the time, the Republicans were no different. It was just not as obvious as the Democrats to rig the results of what they wanted, of what the deep state wanted. So, again, Gabbard would have been the only woman that I would have given consideration for, but she was a threat to Hillary's camp, and they got rid of her as however they did. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that one seems pretty damn fucking sneaky. And I would love to use logic with all of this, with all of them that are reading in their fucking wine. But it won't get through because the power of emotion is great. We're all guilty of this. But the power of emotion, especially strong negative emotions, cuts off your ability to fucking think. Like, your mind is so clouded, it's not funny. So, again, it's the reasons why that I would say that women should not be voting, because if it really doesn't go the way that they'd like, they're going to lose their fucking shit. And any female that is going to lose her shit on me is like, hey, look, I live in Canada. I have not wanted Trudeau to be my prime minister, but there was an election process. You deal with it. It's probably been rigged after at least the last one anyway. So grow up. You're going to, no doubt you would probably say to someone like me, it's like, well, you're not a man. It's like, well, you're an emotional fucking cunt now, aren't you? Anyway, that's all I got. Back to you.
Okay, hold on a second here. Okay, yeah. So, again, I'm just going to say this, because if you get feminists legitimately trying to act like this is some type of phenomenon, it's not a known. You're not own a gun. I mean, I'm seeing so many people on social media commenting about the Manosphere and about how the Manosphere is going to get owned via the sex strike, and it's like, you know, again, I'm going to emphasize one other thing here. You know, the Manosphere, in particular the PUA community, advises you very strongly to avoid feminists like the fucking plague, for obvious reasons, you know, and so MGTOWs don't care. MRAs are like, yeah, whatever, right? You know, it's sorry, MGTOWs, it's redundant. It's not necessary. MRAs are like, yeah, whatever. And PUAs, especially the ones with a lot of skill, are just laughing their asses off because they know women are not going to. They know women are not going to maintain their discipline, and they're not going to get unanimous support. And you know, I mean, when I start thinking about it, and it's sort of like, you know, I mean, they're maybe slightly less inclined to be sexually active than men, despite the jokes. But with that, the next topic is a little bit more of a. We won't be on this one very long, but I had to add this one in because, you know, one of the things, and we discussed this in 406 about how Lara Trump and teams of lawyers. One of the first things that the Team Trump did was to basically, well, I mean, it's effectively what's going to have to happen with the Conservative Party in Canada is that they had to grab one of the two parties, put it up against the wall, and basically purge it of all of the woke elements or all of the leftists or all of the rhinos and whatever. And Liz Cheney was the most public example of that, but I mean, there's been some other ones. Paul Ryan, a few, Mitt Romney, a few others. Like they went in and they took the party over from the Rhino and Champagne conservative crowd, and they turned it into something else. And they immediately organized the Republican Party to respond to voting fraud. And they got a lot of the Republicans. I mean, they didn't intimidate them or anything like that. But I mean, they got a lot of the Republicans to understand that it's like, yeah, this has to happen. We need to make reforms. We need to make them now. You're either in or you're not in. And if you're not in, then you're not going to get the support from the Republican Party that you used to get. And you know, and specifically when Trump gets elected, if you get in Trump's way, because Trump has gone on the record of saying that they ain't fucking around this time, right? If you try to mess with Trump this time, Like Trump is making sure, Donald Trump is making sure that the people he have around him this time are not disloyal. They're not two-faced, right? Like he's gotten a whole lot smarter. He's had 4 years to review his actions from the first time around. And however, there's a few long-standing Republicans that are still fucking rhinos, and one of them is Mitch McConnell. Now, within 3 days, and he did this on a Friday too, by the way, to avoid getting too much attention, but he did this on a Friday. At the end of on Friday, he basically announced a basically a re-electing of the speaker, and he was going to do it via secret vote and secret ballot. 2 of the 3 Republicans that were running for it were vehemently anti-Trumpers. Mitch McConnell tried to sneak this past the majority of the Republicans out there, and he also tried to sneak it past the American people, and he got caught doing it. And, you know, we all knew, I'm not super familiar with Mitch McConnell, but I'm familiar enough with him to know that he's definitely one of the few remaining rhinos inside the Republican Party. And, you know, he's probably he's probably blowing his last he's probably destroyed most of his political credibility in doing this. And I don't know who, and maybe one of you people can go look. I don't know which state Mitch McConnell represents, but it wouldn't surprise me if he either was the same thing that happened with Liz Cheney in Wyoming. It wouldn't surprise me if he got either primaried or he was kind of like politely told under no uncertain terms that he was not going to be the Republican in his state anymore, and that he needed to resign, and that if he tried to fight it, he was going to go down in flames. But McConnell basically got caught trying to fuck with Trump without Trump finding out. And Trump did find out. And Trump, like, for instance, Trump has already gone out and said, for instance, that because there was a faction inside the Republican Party that tried to push Trump into taking Nikki Haley as the VP. Now, if Nikki Haley had been the vice president, that would have set Trump up nicely for all. And we are going to be talking about another assassination attempt on Trump here on topic 5. But that would have set up Trump very nicely for an assassination. Trump obviously chose not to go that way, and he went with J.D. Vance, who's been making a lot of really interesting stuff, in particular around the internet and censorship in general. But Mitch McConnell, at the very least, needs to be primaried. Like, he needs to have, even if he manages to survive the primary process, whichever state he happens to be in, he needs to be primaried. He needs to be reminded that there's a dire need inside the United States to make some serious changes. Now, I'm not entirely convinced that Trump is going to make all of them, but McConnell needs to be either on board or not on board. And he just destroyed a lot of his credibility by attempting to sneak this past everybody and getting caught. And with it, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yes. I'm going to have to pass it over to Rarson. I've got something in front of me here. Go ahead.
All right. Well, I'll be honest. I wasn't aware of any of this, so this was new news and new to me. If the white hats are real, I'm trying to figure out what the whole purpose of McConnell is, but I guess that's just maybe just to drive the point home, perhaps, as to how corrupt the establishment is. Oh, and that's the other thing I wanted to say to these fucking feminists and whatever else. The system is broken. It's got you enslaved, but I suppose at the end of the day, you don't know. You don't see the mental prisons, the walls of the mental prison that you're in, because you're so enamored with it. Anyway, get back to McConnell. I want to be surprised by that with him and his antics, but I really am not. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, in my opinion, he's shown himself to be very friendly to China. He's got a odd enough Chinese wife, I will say that. Oh, and his sister-in-law had passed away strangely enough as well, too. I believe that she had drowned in her car, so how that's going to happen, I have some ideas. Anyway. To try to pull this with the speaker vote is a little on the unexpected side, and I still don't know what to make of Johnson as the House Speaker. Assuming that he's still there. Oh, that's right. It's the Senate's now Republican, so that's why that he would have done that. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense now. My head wasn't quite in the right place. If it was up to me, I would have. If this is going to happen, and I hope it does, if this is going to happen, I'd be quite happy to see McConnell get arrested and processed. That's all that I'm going to say. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, at some point, the guy's on death's door. I mean, I'm surprised that the old fucker's still alive. I don't know how old he is. He's got to be in his 80s. Mm, 1942. Oh, 1942. So my dad's 78. So he's in his early 80s now. So yeah, he's not around for much longer, in my honest opinion. I don't see that he's going to be I'll give him about 4 years, assuming that he's not tried and convicted for being a traitor. So it's unfortunate, but the rhinos are the rhino. A rhino is a rhino is a rhino. But he's so embedded within the deep state, it's not funny. So yeah, I got nothing more to say. Back to you.
But I kind of figured yeah. Hello.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, yeah. I'm sorry, I had to kill like the biggest freaking thing I've ever seen in my life. Yeah, no, dude, Mitch McConnell. Yeah, I'm surprised this guy's still around too. We need to start flushing guys out. I mean, we have a 2-term limit for a president, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing. Trump has actually one of the things that he's actually said. He's how much of these is actually going to pull off? I mean, we'll have to see next year. But one of the things that Trump has definitely said he's going to be pushing through is term limits on Senate and House people.
Yeah, no, you have these career politicians. They get nice and comfortable in their seats, and they don't do anything but collect the paycheck for the rest of their lives. And that's a crime. They're taking all this freaking bribery money, lobbying money, stuff their pockets. They piss off the people they're supposed to be representing, and it's got to go. It's got to go. Yeah, absolutely. It's got to go. It's archaic form of government, anyways. We should be able to vote on issues. We have the internet now. We're no longer in the horse and buggy days and divided by hundreds of miles of empty land. Okay, we have the internet now. We don't need all these representatives. We don't need all these people. If there's people who want to lobby and want to get some stuff done, they want to let them pay the public. But yeah, come on, bring your store over here. Bring this business over here. Oh yeah, develop that. Sure. Drop that money in the community. We don't need a middleman taking up all the fucking money and screwing everybody over who didn't have a say in the matter. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have anything specifically to say about Mitch McConnell and stuff. I mean, these kind of guys just need to go. We need to flush them out.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, I had to throw that in because I didn't think McConnell, Republicans, knowing what was going on, that the few remaining rhinos out there would be stupid enough to do this. But apparently, McConnell represents Kentucky. He is the other Kentucky senator is Rand Paul, which gives you an idea of of the differentiating point of view on between those two. McConnell is in a state where getting primaried by the constituents is a very serious possibility. And with that, I'm going to move on to the next one because this next one is also really, really fun. And this one, of course, is also tied into the election. And again, like I said, folks, a lot of this tonight is going to be about the election. And it was pretty much obvious. I mean, specifically on YouTube, not on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Brighteon, and MGTOW TV, obviously, but on YouTube, you had all of the woke streamers. The one that was specifically brought up, the one that got hit the hardest, was a guy by the name of David Pakman. Now, once upon a time, I actually respected David Pakman. This is pre-2012. I thought he had a balanced, nuanced take, but then Ethan Klein and a couple of other, I think you'll find this because we actually covered it at the time. Hassan Piker, otherwise known as Hassanabi. Do you know where he asked what Hassanabi was doing before he became a left-wing pundit? He was a PUA instructor known as the Brofessor. Yeah, try not to laugh too hard. Somebody found some videos of him actually doing his thing. But David Pakman mentioned a few other names when he talked, and basically Pakman basically owned himself. What ended up happening is that, and though he's got a very large following, because again, YouTube doesn't throttle his content, he's got a rather large following, but I mean, he does have a limited number of what you call subscribers, or people that are actually subscribed to his channel and are actually paying for his content voluntarily. And he didn't lose that. 5,000 doesn't seem like it's that many, but what really stuck out, and is how David Pakman self-owned, is that it wasn't so much the number of subs he lost, it was the number of actual paid subs. The actual subscribers, the ones who actually pay to listen to him, though. That was where he took a disproportionate amount of hits. And he talked to some of the other left-wing YouTubers on the platform, and the same thing had happened to them. And of course, it's very obvious why they all took the hits, because they all fucking lied. Now, I'm not going to go into, I don't watch these people, right? Like I can't fucking stand Hassan Piker. Sam Cedar is an especially slimy little motherfucker who I can't wait for the day when he does something massively stupid and he loses his channel, and it's going to happen to him at some point. But all of these people have taken substantial monetary losses for lying and backing Kamala Harris and running block for Kamala Harris, and having, of course, this again stretches back to YouTube, which, by the way, I'm going to say Trump is definitely, YouTube might not be at the top of his list, but Trump is definitely going to be doing something about the internet censorship issue. And he's probably going to be doing it, from what he's saying, he's either going to do it himself or he's going to hand it off to J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance is going to be managing it. But they definitely, it's close to the top of their agenda. YouTube, though, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, some of the more left-leaning social media platforms were intentionally promoting this content above, say, people who are pro-Trump. And a lot of these people, I mean, I don't know specifically what David Pakman was lying about, and I have no specific recollection of what Sam Cedar was lying about, and I'm not going to go through their content to find it, because it's painful for me to listen to these people lie. It is, just like how I don't listen to Nick Fuentes, because Nick Fuentes is one of those Jew behind every fucking blade of grass people, right? To a certain degree. Yeah, from what little I've been able to grasp about him. So, yeah, Hollywood's taking a hard hit on this. But online, the woke streamers, Hasanabi, Sam Cedar, David Pakman, a few others, are also taking significant hits, strangely enough. And I think TYT can probably thank Anna Kasparian, because Anna Kasparian clearly woke up during COVID and is not nearly as dogmatic as she used to be. Anna Kasparian has actually been able to, because she's been a little bit more balanced and she's not as dogmatic as Cenk Uygur, she's been able to kind of prevent the damage from spreading to TYT, because apparently, and again, I stopped listening to the Young Turks years ago, but apparently she's a lot more critical of the left now than she was before COVID hit. And so not every woke streamer got hit equally, but there was a couple of them. Sam Cedar is the one. I am actually quite glad to see that asshole fucking take a major hit from his actual paid subscriber base. Because if there's an individual who I think deserves to go down hard and ugly, I think it is definitely Sam Cedar. David Pakman, maybe not quite so much, but Sam Cedar is just I'm not even going to get into that. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Well, you know, they say every dog has its day, right? Every dog has its day. Oh, wow. I'm getting the echo and feedback of myself. Do I sound all right to you guys?
You're sounding okay over here, but you sound like you're breaking up, though.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I've got some people here who are streaming, so my connection might be very weak. Um, yeah, I mean, I hear you talking about these guys all the time. Uh, I don't listen to Sam Cedar. I don't. I'm not familiar with these kind of guys. This is really not my. You know me. When when I say red pill, I don't mean ministry. I just mean overall. You know, waking up to reality and seeing the corruption around you. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing about fan base, man. It's a double-edged sword. Use it as your weapon, or it's going to be a weapon used against you. So you got to stay on top of your game. And unfortunately, with something like with what he does, you're going to be highly polarized, and you're going to be pissing people off no matter what. So the axe comes for everybody eventually. So, anyways, yeah, that's all I have to say.
Rearson.
Yeah, sorry about that. Didn't think that you would look serious. Went to the bathroom. My apologies for not giving you the heads up. Well, much. No, actually, now that I'm looking at it, this one should have been right up there or right after the Manosphere and the sex strike, the pussy strike. I mean, there seems to be enough evidence to point out who Disney has paid for shills on YouTube leading up to, especially with the ejaculate, the wokalite, the acolyte. You know, Leslie Headland's now $225 million therapy session that didn't go over very well. And especially given how planted and planned everything seems to be, or at least it was leading up to all of that with the ejaculate. So, and I believe that enough of those channels have probably lost enough viewers. I don't know, don't follow them. And again, I think this, well, I would strongly suspect and expect that's why that channels like the Critical Drinker and Nerd Erotic and the people like them that are in that really tight sphere or circle are only increasing in their subscriber base and their viewership. And given all of the fuckery that's been going on, this is only the beginning as to what's going to happen. I mean, I remember Trump saying that the legacy media was on its way out. Like, they're dead. They know they're dying. And that's what they would have shifted over to, political parties to shift over to YouTube. Whatever it is that they promised them, I don't know what. And from what I think I recall remembering, Chunky Yogurt, the Young Turks, they were left leaning, but going into all of the fuckery with Hillary's campaign, all of a sudden they were fully on her side. So, and I think that, if I'm not mistaken, Shank, whatever the fuck his name is, he didn't lose it like Jimmy Kimmel did, but he was close, I think, to breaking. So I'm of the opinion that some bad deals were made, or rather, when this shit comes out, Turk's credibility is gonna fall through the floor, and that's going to be the end of. Well, it may not be the end of all of that, but I mean, I'm thinking in terms of treason, and treason's not taken very lightly in the U.S. of A. So I think he's shitting himself just with the idea of what could happen. So we will see. But for these paid off woke streamers, I have no sympathy for them. This was all a house of cards. And again, Trump is not in office yet, and already shit like this is starting to happen. Welcome to the Matrix, folks. And it's only going to it will get better, but stuff like this is only going to accelerate over the next year. But we'll see. We will see. Who knows? So, yeah, I don't have any more to say, Norky. Back to you.
You hit me just as I was about to clip a photo, but yeah, it's I'm just going to speculate here. The social media in particular, not so much. I mean, Zuckerberg has kind of like appears to have read the tea leaves a little bit and has kind of backed away from it. He's almost throwing the people who are putting pressure on him to censor under the bus and chose not to take a side this time around, probably because he did read the tea leaves. Certain other sites, though, YouTube is for sure one of them. Wikipedia is definitely up there. Quora, Instagram has gone like Threads in particular. Threads is, I mean, I can tell you, man, Threads is the new Mastodon from what I've been able to see. But there's, again, not so much on Twitter, but or X now. But I mean, it's the party is basically over for what you call the cult of woke, right? I read a quote from Marjorie Taylor Greene on Instagram today, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, I mean, Marjorie, I'm going to point out something about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I have some really strong reservations about her because I have a very strong aching suspicion that she's more of, like, she's like fundamentalist Christian Republican. And I remember, and Rearson, actually, I think all three of us remember how bad that crowd was back in the 80s. I mean, they were what the woke Democrats are now. In fact, there's very little
Satanic panic.
What? Yeah, there's very little
Satanic panic.
Yeah, the satanic panic. I remember that. There's very little that differentiates those two groups. Like, not very much at all, and a lot of people don't remember about the Bible thumping Republicans back in the 80s and the 90s, right? They were fucking annoying, and even as late as 2012, 2013, like, I was still mocking the far right or the right wingers for basically, Bible thumping and taking and supporting, well, stuff, let's say, like Mitch McConnell and Jerry and not Paul Ryan and that particular, what was his name? The guy from West Virginia, Jesse Helms. But people like that were supporting, right? And that wasn't that long ago. That's a little over a decade ago. Like, not that long ago at all, right? So, and I was very critical And there were some definitely there were some real. This is back in the early days of YouTube, by the way. There were some real hardcore fundamentalist Christian YouTubers back then who said stuff that, I mean, well, I mean, it's the basis for individuals on YouTube, like, say, the Amazing Atheist, who is still around today, for starting up their channels. And trust me, back in the day, back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, TJ Kirk was routinely getting attacked and assaulted by the Christian right. Like, that was not that long ago. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say on this one. So yeah, we're going to get into topic number 6, which is, and this is one of those ones that is speculated to be a deep fake thing, an attempt. Well, I'm going to go back to that time just a couple of months ago when Iran rather conveniently timed a missile strike for something that happened politically in the U.S. And I mean, I didn't find out. I mean, I was expecting to hear high body count and high casualty count from Israel, but apparently all of those missiles that got fired into Israel just landed harmlessly. There was one fucking person, one Israeli citizen got killed, right? And we were commenting, because I believe Kelso was on this show on that particular occasion. We were commenting on the show, and then we found the timing. I can't remember what it was timed over, but I found the timing very, very curious. Now, twice, there have been 3 attempts on Trump's by their own citizens. The third one is kind of a little bit, it's got some very, very odd security breakdowns involved. And it's not conclusively proven whether there was actually an attempt to assassinate Trump or not, but it got stopped. The other 2 have been done by faceless Iranians coming into the country. One of them, I think, even came in illegally. And somehow, the Secret Service or Homeland Security couldn't prevent a teenager with an overbite from getting onto a rooftop and taking a shot which damn near killed Donald Trump. But somehow they're able to figure out that these nameless, and then we'll say if they're nameless anymore, but basically these anonymous Iranians were attempting to do the same thing to assassinate Trump. And somehow they were able to get right on top of these people and stop them before they ever got remotely close to Donald Trump. And this has been pointed out by a few people. And if you couple that with that rather curious exchange between Iran and Israel a couple months back, it's almost as if, and this is not out of the realm of possibility, I have to remind you, it's about 100 days, give or take, before Trump actually becomes the president again. That you can cause a lot of mischief. We were just talking about Mitch McConnell here 2 topics ago. You can cause a lot of mischief at 100 days, right? It's almost as if they are trying to goad Trump into declaring some type of war against Iran, or trying to start a war with Iran before Trump gets into office. And we were talking about this on the politics show a couple of episodes ago about how they might try and do something like this. I mean, the fact of the matter is that this was an assassination attempt to kill Trump, done by Iranians for the second time. And, it's very, very conceivable if they've got the right people in place. And I got to point out that Trump is being very particular about who he has around him anymore. And now that they're trying to feed information to Trump to force Trump to declare war on Iran. So, again, there is a connection between the Iranian government and the deep state in the United States, and some of Iran's actions are very, very suspicious. Like they don't make any sense. Trump winning will probably mean that they can go to the table and they can negotiate with him and they can come up with a solution. And he can probably come up with something, because Hamas has definitely made declarations that they're willing to suddenly negotiate now that Trump is going to become the president. I also have to point out that Trump is very pro-Israel. His daughter is Ivanka Trump is married to a Jewish man. Trump has been very, very favorable towards the Israeli lobby. So, yeah, it is probably in Hamas's best interest to go, yeah, we're willing to negotiate now, because Trump is not going to cut any slack with Hamas, probably. Iran, knowing this, would probably if they want to, going to war with the United States isn't, even with the fact that there's not a lot of national support for a war right now. Having a foreign power try to assassinate or successfully assassinate Trump would definitely cause a war. There doesn't seem to be anything that the Iranians would gain out of that, except to draw some of the Russia and China into a much more larger and expansive war, which again is not really in Iran's best interest. So there are some very suspicious intelligence issues around this. And to quote Jeremy Hamblin from The Quartering, it's really important that Trump be aware of what the deep state is probably attempting to do to him around this issue, and that he takes steps to avoid it. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to V.
Yeah. I'm telling you, Trump is the man. All right. Yeah. Is willing to negotiate now Trump's in office. Hell, I'm pretty sure Putin will be willing to talk now that Trump is back in office. I mean, I dare to say, Trump is the closest thing we've had to, having a great equalizer. I'm so looking forward to seeing what Trump is going to be able to do in situations. I mean, I know if he can't, broker peace, he's gonna send some quick, decisive blows that's gonna not involve major military actions. I would believe. With that, the ability that Trump has with his charisma, I do believe. I don't know. We're in for some interesting times. I would like to see. The whole ordeal with Ukraine and Russia. I mean, that's going to be one of those things that defines his office, his administration. Like from the beginning, people are going to be looking at this issue, which has not faded. Okay, and how he handles that is really going to gain him support or not. So, I don't want to get into too much of anything else on that. So I'll keep it brief and pass it on to yours. Go ahead.
Well, hey, Rearson, that's incredibly deep. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Rearson.
Yeah. Well, as I already said, it's a long enough way between now and January 20th, which is the inauguration. So there's a lot that can happen, or there's a lot that could be planned for to try to happen against him. The one thing that 47 has said basically is that he had no idea, he had no idea how bad the system was rigged against him, and yet he was able to pull off what he did. And when he kept talking about draining the swamp and whatnot, so right now the swamp is still around. It's weakened, and much like a cornered animal, they're unpredictable, and they're going to be. We got to watch out. I guess that's really about the only way to say it. Excuse me. Iran has vigorously denied that they're the ones that had planned this, and since all of this is being leaked out through the media, and we know how honest the media is now, don't we, gentlemen, and anybody else listening? They're not. To me, this is one of those times where it should be, question everything. And I don't know. For me, you can't trust the fuckers. Like, you really honestly can't. I mean, Joe Scarborough, doesn't that guy have an alleged murder that was cleaned up with his secretary or one of his staff? I can't remember what the fucking deal was. And, the guy is happy to be in front of the camera in the way that he is, being violently opposed to him, between him and his skanky looking fucking wife. Oh, I didn't even think in her prime that she even looked all that great. Maybe with a ton of makeup on and more than a few drinks, yeah, I probably would have done her. Anyway. I think we're going to see more of these occurrences of attempted assassinations, and I won't be surprised if there was military backing to cover him to work with the Secret Service, but I don't know. I really honestly don't know. So, yeah. Next.
Yeah, we're gonna be that pretty much concludes the American elections section, which again I told you was gonna go quite long. Now this next one is going to be is still going to be about politics, but it's going to be about Danielle Smith. Now we covered this about a month or two ago about how there was a guy in Calgary who was attempting to do, and for those of you who don't know, in the US, you can primary a politician in Canada, Great Britain, or Australia, but the way you have to do it, it's very similar to what you got to do in the United States. You have to basically rally people in the party, and at the state convention, at the provincial, say the Provincial Conservative Party convention, call for a vote of confidence against the leader, in this particular case, Danielle Smith. And this guy, again, right, much like Mitch McConnell, he was not actually, I wouldn't necessarily classify him as a rhino, but I think he was potentially a New Democrat or a socialist or whatever, but he got a membership in the Conservative Party, and then he immediately started going around and began encouraging all of his socialist and leftist friends to join the Conservative Party so that they could get enough votes to get Danielle Smith removed as a head of the Alberta Conservative Party. Now, this dude got, and again, he was trying, much like Mitch McConnell, he was trying to do this clandestinely. He got caught. He got caught big time. And even though he got caught, he still attempted to do it. Now, he did get caught, so he was having a much more difficult time, but he literally did go to the Alberta Conservative Party convention. I don't know where it was held, and he did force a vote. The vote, though, was 91.8% in favor of keeping Danielle Smith. In short, the vote was overwhelmingly in favor of Danielle Smith. And I mean, if I was a member of the Conservative Party, I would have been voting for Danielle Smith too. But this is it's a very sneaky and underhanded way. I mean, yeah, you do that, like certain women, like Liz Cheney, like certain, not just women, certain politicians, Liz Cheney, Mitch McConnell, whatever, right? Like, these are individuals that badly needed to be primaried, or you had to basically hold a vote, have a vote of confidence within the party to whether or not they would want Danielle Smith to win. But it was, yeah, good on Danielle Smith. What's going to have to happen in both Canada and the U.S. And I'm fully expecting that Trudeau is going to be ramping up the rhetoric here. Because, I'm seeing it already on Twitter. You've got clearly paid stooges on Twitter just endlessly trying to hype up Trudeau and smear Pierre Poilievre every single chance to get. And, of course, it doesn't work because Trudeau is such a dishonest piece of crap. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Pierre had been given a wink and a nod to this guy in Calgary to attempt to do this very thing. Again, I'll never prove it, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was there. But yeah, Danielle Smith remains the Premier of Alberta. She's probably going to remain the Premier of Alberta until she either tries to run federally or she decides to step down. Because at this point, Danielle Smith is one of the few politicians out there that is willing to put her foot down against the woke mob and say, no, you're not going to cry bully me. You're not going to shame me. You're not going to be able to do anything to me to get me to cave to you guys, especially after what they did around COVID. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rearson now that V's gone.
I had a feeling he wasn't going to stick around. I'm going to try to get off. I need to talk to that guy. Anyway. So this is what you were talking about before, about an attempted, there's a political coup attempt against Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's what I thought. I just had to ask that question here first. All things being equal, she's the one that's she's telling Trudeau to get stuffed, among other words, especially with this now production cap that they want to impose on provincial jurisdiction. I mean, I don't think I've actually heard a politician actually say that he or she's incredibly pissed, but that's pretty much word for word what she more or less had said. But she is so sick of Trudeau's shit, it's not funny. And for that reason alone, I'll be happy to vote her back in for her to be that blunt and that direct, shall we say. It's incredibly refreshing. And in terms of election results, I mean, Alberta's oil is the biggest supplier of hydrocarbons to the U.S., so I'm pretty sure that her congratulatory phone call to Trump was probably very well received. I mean, I know that the province has its own office in Washington, based on the trade between the province and south of the 49th parallel. Now, who this guy is that was trying to pull this kind of crap, I have no idea who he is and never heard of him. But it sounds like this was nothing more than it sounds like it's just nothing short of a political character assassination, I guess would be the best way to say it. And anything to try to distract the masses to try to get the media off of Trudeau's sorry ass. Anything for a change in the news cycle besides, well, hey, in the news today, guess what? More political corruption from the federal Liberals in Ottawa, that sort of shit. So I have to say that I do approve of her. I approve fully of her telling the Alphabet Mafia to go pound salt, among other words I'd like to use. And she's come a long way, actually. I mean, the fledgling Wild Rose Party, I believe, and then she merged with the Conservatives. It was something that she does regret, but she went back to the public sector for a while and learned from it, and I'm happy. I'm quite pleased with this result. So good on her for that one. So, oh shit. Let's move on to the last topic. Holy shit.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Yep. Yeah, we had to do this one. Not so much because of, well, I mean, I decided to add this topic in, because I think we needed to get away from have this be a completely political show. This probably should have been done last week, but it wasn't. So, yeah, Dragon Age was problematic from the start. There was woke someone all the way through. I can't specifically recall right now whether Sweet Baby was involved. Keep in mind there are other companies out there doing the exact same quote unquote consulting that with BioWare that they did this with. Yeah, it's not really a whole hell of a lot. I mean, I saw. I mean, it was just mercifully torn apart by the gaming community, and of course, right, Kotaku and Rock Paper. I can't even believe Rock Paper Shotgun even exists anymore, but apparently it does. And Computer Gamer and some of the and trying to remember the name of the IGN. They all. They're all, of course, because they have people working for them that would much rather report on politics, but are stuck reporting on gaming and cannot stay away from woke dogma when they do their reporting. And it's more concerned about whether there's quote unquote LGBTQ representation, or whether there's black characters, or whether there's transgender characters, or whatever the fuck it is in the game, as opposed to, whether the game's actually playable or not. Apparently, and again, I'm not, because I'm spend a lot of my time streaming and working on my stream. I don't have a lot of time for games anymore. I mean, when I do play games, I play Civilization, which, by the way, also has a woke issue in it to boot too, but I won't get into that. But I mean, they got caught, much like Disney, much like a lot of the woke TV and film studios in Hollywood. They got caught. Somebody leaked information that said there was a consultant, and that consultant was more concerned with woke content than the actual playability of the game. And it got leaked, and people started looking. And lo and behold, that is exactly the case. And instead of Dragon Age going, "Oh no, we're sorry, we're gonna fall back," they choose to double just like television and movie studios. They decided that it would be a great idea to insult their fan base. Because, as we're all, and I mean, I keep saying, it just blows my mind, right? Like, you make a movie, and movies are a very risky venture to make, or you make a game, which is a very risky venture to make. And I mean, I cannot believe the number of people that cannot put two and two together and will give you, when you answer a simple question like, is it a good idea to be set insulting your fan base, the people are going to be buying your games, is on a scale of yes or no, is it a good idea to be insulting your buying base? And I have had multiple people argue with me about this point, you know and the same thing, apparently, and because it's going to be up for 408, apparently Henry Cavill has decided to hold his ground on Warhammer. And because he's decided to hold his ground, and because he's also decided that he's going to see this damn thing through to the end, he's not playing nice anymore. And as a result, despite multiple rumors that the Warhammer story is dead in the water, it's not dead in the water because Henry Cavill is keeping it going. Same thing here, though. Like, is it a good idea to be insulting your potential customers? The answer on that is no. If McDonald's flipped the bird to every second person that walked in the door and chose to insult them and say, "Yeah, you're fucking fat and disgusting and our food is bad, but yeah, here, eat it anyway," like, how many of those fucking people would return? And keep in mind, McDonald's is a bad example, but I mean, hold on a second. That applies to any good or service that you applaud, that you apply it to. It does. You don't insult your fucking customers. And yet, Hollywood and the gaming studios and the music industry, they just keep doing it. And it's like, in the end, folks, and this applies to me as well, it doesn't matter how good of a fucking podcaster I am. It doesn't matter whether I entertain, well, you know, it doesn't matter whether some suit is going to like me or not, or whether some commercial sponsor is going to like me or not. And by the way, I am eventually going to have to start doing that. Ultimately, though, when I talk, I'm entertaining enough for you to continue to listen, and then continuing to actually like and subscribe to my show and listen to my content. And yes, I am going to start doing more short version content here. Current job doesn't really allow me to do it, but yeah. So this is what happened with Dragon Age, and of course there were some other issues. I mean, one of the people who reviewed it said he had to set it down to the lowest easy setting, not because he wanted an easy setting, but because the opponents that he was playing in the game had like ridiculously high levels of hit points, and the weapons that he had weren't doing enough damage. So there's some game mechanics issues on top of the wokeism, on top of the actions that BioWare took in regards to this game, and it was reflected when BioWare released the trailer for it, and it got, when I looked at it, it had 500,000 views, it had 500 likes, and 50,000 downvotes. And yes, by the way, YouTube, we can see the downvotes, right? Like, I don't know what it was in your brain that thought that protecting the Biden administration from the downvotes was going to somehow protect the administration. It doesn't, right? Like, there's apps, there's applications that enable you to see the fucking downvotes. And it's like the ratio of downvotes to upvotes was 1,000 to 1. 1,000 to 1. And yeah, again, right, much like Kathleen Kennedy, you're left scratching your head and wondering, like, do they not see the writing on the wall? And if you keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again, you're going to keep getting the same result. And eventually the money's going to run out. Now, I don't know why, for instance, why Disney has not put its foot down with Kathleen Kennedy. But I mean, are they going to completely bankrupt Lucasfilm before they get rid of her? Because I mean, I can literally guarantee you, if they come out with a 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 on Star Wars with this current team in place, the movie is not going to go anywhere. They should have just gone with the Thrawn trilogy, paid a little extra for the book author, and done it that way. But no, Kathleen Kennedy had to enforce her worldview into the movies. And look what happened. Same thing with games. Now, unlike Gamergate Part 1, this time around, when gamers are they're desperately trying to hide associations with companies like Sweet Baby, and whoever decided to jump on board for this crap, which is I don't know. Again, like, I can't say too much about Dragon Age because I don't play a lot of video games anymore, computer games. But the same principle applies, right? If you continue to insult your audience, if you continue to put a product out that is culturally Marxist as opposed to entertaining and fun to play with, your company, your game, your movie, your TV series, your music is not going to fucking sell. And if you do it long enough, you're going to bankrupt the company, aka get woke, go broke. And with that, I'm turning it over to Rearson.
Well, I was taking a look at EA's stock value. It's actually been at its highest over the last year, and as of November 7th, it was sitting at $160 a share. It's now at $150, about just under $158. So, $2 drop, not very much, like 1.5% drop, whatever the case may be. One thing that I've heard is that working in the gaming industry 10 years ago, everything was fine. 7 years ago, everything was fine. About 5 years ago is when things started to change, because that's when they were starting to have more female hires. Now, I don't know exactly what it is with this mentality that seems to be the case with women, but anywhere that we can stick her or push our tits into men's spaces, well, we got to ruin their day, you know, and let the reading fucking start. Is what I had heard is that the more incompetent diversity hires, for like, and I'll be polite, the more hires that were brought in that were DEI, the more of a workload everyone else that knew what they were doing had to pick up to cover their ass, their collective ass. So the quality of work that was being released was eventually going down further and further. Now, I'm pretty sure you talked about Star Wars Outlaws. I mean, the woman is not, the main character is not something even at the height of my youth or being a teenager with testosterone and hormones are raging. I wouldn't be beaten off to that fucking thing. I'd rather be beaten off to Laura Croft when she was all busty and blocky. Like, I mean, I'm talking like the original release of. You know, and there's another one that's also been, she's had her tits cut off with the Amazon version of the cartoon. And there's a time and a place for a woman to be around men, and in the workplace, it's really becoming more and more obvious that they need to be anywhere else but. I mean, it's not to say that there aren't competent women in the gaming industry that can program and code and whatever else. Not saying that. But again, it's these women that are being, maybe not necessarily women, but these DIE hires that are doing exactly that. I mean, Ubisoft is up shit creek right now, and Lord knows if that paddle's going to break or not. Haven't heard anything about that, and to be quite honest with you, I don't really care. I really don't. I mean, I'm just looking at the guitar that I got from my son's godfather, and I'm glad that I've got Rocksmith on Steam, and I can't see, someone would be really stupid to let Ubisoft go, you know, completely fall apart. There's a lot of IPs in there that would make it worthwhile. Excuse me. But again, we've got people that are in positions that we've seen this with Hollywood. I mean, again, when we met at Eau Claire, and Eau Claire's being torn down, by the way. When we met at Eau Claire, you were saying that Hollywood was creatively bankrupt. I didn't see it at the time. Now I do. I didn't think that the gaming industry would fall apart the way that it has, but it has. I mean, another game from BioWare that they're talking about is Mass Effect 5. Mass Effect 3 was enough. It ended with Shepard having to die, but that's what happens sometimes in war, is that soldiers do die from time to time. I didn't like the ending, but I accepted it. But the fan base, no, good here. Shepard has to live to the end and get through it all. And so BioWare had to go back and fix all that shit up, and that was enough of a mess. But to me, that's when Mass Effect was it. That was it, done. Kind of like Star Wars. Episodes 4, 5, and 6, that's it, done. 1, 2, and 3 I didn't mind because it filled in as to what happened leading up to it all. May not have been written the best, but you know what? That's Star Wars. It's not like it's going to be Oscar-winning material for writing, for example, like the soundtrack and the special effects. Yes, but that's it. So, and as I was saying with Star Wars Outlaws, again, and much like the She-Hulk writing team, one guy. Everyone else were women, some really ugly fat ones. you had some very nondescript females that were working on Star Wars Outlaws, and a normally attractive female ended up being a 5 at best. Closer, I think, to about a 4. I mean, she had space between her teeth. The fuck does that? You know, it's just one of those. I'm going to have no sympathy for the gaming industry at this point because, much like Disney, they know what the problem is, but they refuse to acknowledge that they are the issue. So, yeah, it is what it is. That's all that I can say. It is what it is. So, yet again, one more place for men that just cannot be fucking left alone because the women have to stick their tits into anything and everything that men are happy to do almost whatever it takes to get away from women. So right now, EA, Electronic Arts, is too big to fail. And I don't mean that in the sense of this company can take their hits probably for about another, I'd say about 3 years, 3 to 4 years. And again, the stock price, it's a couple of cunt hairs below $160 US a share. So it's okay for now. We'll see. And again, I don't think I really had. Do I have an EA? Well, I've got Rocksmith, which is an EA game. I've got the Baldur's Gate series and everything that's using the BioWare engine, but those were games that I bought well before EA bought them, so I consider that just to be BioWare at the time. Old Republic I don't touch anymore, so yeah, EA games can go tits up, and I really don't care. I really don't. There's so much fun when you have. Life becomes more enjoyable when you just don't have those stupid emotional attachments to really dumb things at the end of the day. So, can't wait to see what the rest of my life's going to look like as I'm maturing here. So, but yeah, I have nothing more to say on this one, my friend. Let's wrap it up.
It's I mean, again, cultural Marxism forced us to have emotional attachment to these things. It's like they could have if they had tried to say be creative about the message.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to just slamming it down our throats, it would have been good, right? Like, for instance, today I was watching not the original Pacific Rim, but the second version of it, and then that movie did not do particularly well. And in that movie, and again, I noticed this, but I didn't notice it when it came out because the second Pacific Rim was like 2018 or something like that. But I noticed it this time, right? One of the protagonists was this bad little teenage girl who didn't need no man, didn't need anybody to look after her. And one of the Yager pilots was black. And a lot of the Yager pilots, a disproportionately large number of them were women. And like there was a lot of like quote unquote people of color. And again, right, I didn't pay attention to it so much when I watched the second Pacific Rim Uprising, because like the Yagers were based out of Hong Kong, so yeah, of course there were going to be a lot of Chinese there, right? And we were going to see a lot of Orientals and whites, right? That made sense, right? Like this time, though, you could clearly and you see it now that it's been brought to your attention. Just like with games. Now that you see, if there's a fucking trans character in a game that doesn't belong there, you're gonna, if there's like, for instance, right, create like the last game that had Kratos in it, right? There was a black god in the movie, in the game, that just did not make sense because there wasn't a lot of blacks in Greece. Like, yeah, Greece had slavery, but it wasn't on the scale that the Romans had. There's certainly, I mean, there were probably, because I mean, again, like Ethiopia was a country at that time, right? So there were probably blacks living in Greece, right? But I mean, to make one an actual god, that just didn't make any sense, right? And they shoehorn it in, and of course, like I said, you know, when they get called on it, they cannot even, like, even going with a lot of the times with these companies, even going silent would be better than responding, because the moment they respond and they try to make, and it's a form of gaslighting, they try to gaslight you into feeling bad about it, right? You know, people can see through that, right? And it's like, now you've tried to fucking gaslight me. Now you've tried to insult me for noticing that you're engaging in dishonest asshole behavior. And you think I'm going to be giving you any of my money or any of my support down the road? Fuck no.
Well,
And in a lot of particular cases, I will just fucking tell you exactly what you're being like, and I will just walk the fuck away.
Yeah.
Right? Like I was telling you about that woman today at the start of the show, that woman who was in the Costco and cut off this white guy in a line. She has no idea how this guy voted. She has no idea what his political affiliations are, what his cultural affiliations are, whether he was even from the United States in the first place. And then she goes on Threads and says, hey, I was an asshole to a white guy today who probably voted for Trump. Well, do you know he voted for Trump? Did you fucking ask him? Right? And she's getting called out for it. And there's literally a couple people in the thread that are accusing people who are calling out her behavior for being sensitive or butthurt. And it's like, no. Take your gaslighting, shove it up your ass. Same thing with the games.
Yep.
Right? You want to insult me for pointing out your fucking incompetence? Take your gaslighting, shove it up your ass. And oh, by the way, the statement I made to you still fucking stands. With that, I'm done. If you have anything more to say, Bruce, say it. Otherwise, we're done for tonight.
Now we're done for tonight.
All right. Oh, Jesus, man. What a goddamn... It's not any... Hold on. That is it for tonight. 408. Well, I'm gonna be grateful because you just heard me say it right. I'm going to be glad that I don't have to do too much in terms of work around the podcast for a few days or so, because it's been, I will freely admit, because if you've been listening to my podcast on a regular basis, you know that I just moved recently and just had to deal with a rather stressful summer.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I am looking forward to not having to do another show for about a week. We'll see. Maybe I'll even take a week off. I've only taken 3 of those since we started. Although we are coming up, end of November is going to be the 7th anniversary, so I will have to be on for that one whether I want to be or not. But that's it for 407 tonight. Thank you.